and welcome back to BookTube with Amy. This is going to be my most recent weekly wrap up. So I've quite a few books to talk to you about. It's been a bit of a mixed bag of reading, to be honest. So first up, I read His Bloody Project by Graham McCrae Burnett. So I saw Fraser for Fraser Simon Springboard Thoughts talking about Case Study, which is a Graham McCrae Burnett, I think, that was nominated and is on the shortlist, long list, something Bookerish related, and it sounded like a really interesting book and something that might be up my street. So I added it to my wish list, but I was like, hey mate, you've got a Graham McCrae Burnett book on your self-destruct TBR that you thought sounded up your street, that you're really, really excited for, that you haven't read. So you're not buying any more books by him until you've read this one. So that was my inspiration for picking this up. So this is His Bloody Project by Graham McCrae Burnett. Don't know if I just said that. This is nominated, it was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2016. This is how old this book is. And I was absolutely buzzing for it when it came out, and I just haven't bothered to pick it up. So it was on my self-destruct TBR, and I decided it was now or never, and I took the plunge, and I really, really enjoyed this. So this is a really unique book, right, in that it is sort of presented as a non-fiction, even though it is fiction. So Graham McCrae Burnett has written a book about one of his ancestors, Roderick McCrae, and Roderick McCrae was a murderer. And so the first 3/4 of this book is Roderick's personal account, but we open with a prologue that has been written by Graham, and it is talking about how, you know, he came across these documents when he was tracing his family tree, like blah blah blah, to basically make it sound like it is a non-fiction book. And then we get Roderick's account, and we really get to spend a lot of time with Roderick. There's a lot of build up to the murder, and we find out exactly what life is like living where Roderick lives, rural Scotland, and what it was like at the time that this was written, which I think is the 1800s, 1869. And then after that we get various different accounts from different people. We get a couple of witnesses that Roderick went to after the murder, and we get what happened to them. We get a couple of accounts as to the type of person that Roderick is. We also get like case study documents from medical professionals. So you get like the medical reports. We also get like trial documents, and that is basically the biggest, like the second biggest part of the book as well. And then we get like the epilogue, which is all the factual detail. So really, really interesting in the way that it's set up. I have never read another book that has done it quite like this, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It made it a really engaging read. I obviously liked the fact that it was set in rural Scotland, and that it focused quite a bit on how it was to live in rural Scottish Highlands during this time. It's not a time period that I know a lot about. However, I know a lot about the struggles of currently living in rural Scotland, and so it was interesting to sort of draw parallels between that. I have to say that Roderick is like the cutest wee murderer ever. Graham McCrae Burnett does a phenomenal job at making you really feel for Roderick, and because you spend so much time with him in the build up to the murder, you really get to know him, you really get to understand his motivations, what drives him to commit the murder, and I like that we get it all from his perspective. The political dynamics in here are hugely interesting. The social elements of this book are very interesting, and like the social expectations on men and women in a household in the 1800s in rural Scotland was something that I really enjoyed reading about, and again found it very fascinating. I really connected with Roderick. He is a bit of an outsider. He doesn't have the same wants and desires as other people in his town. You know, he would like to escape it and get away and maybe do something a wee bit more educational. He does very well in school, and his teacher recognises that, and that causes a wee bit of trouble in his household, because his dad's like, you need to take after the croft after me, like, you know, it'll get passed on to you, it's your responsibility, and he himself feels a lot of this responsibility, and so doesn't even feel open to explore other avenues that could potentially be open to him. So that's interesting. And then I really liked, after we get Roderick's account, seeing the different thought processes of the different people who are involved in this trial. Roderick's account is sort of split between flashbacks to the past, almost diary entry like, and then like snap forwards to the present where he is talking to his psychiatrist, because they're trying to ascertain whether or not Roderick is mentally stable and culpable for these murders, or if maybe they can get him off on accounts of lunacy. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. There is a lot of interesting points made in this book, a lot of really great social commentary about the 1800s and specifically about the Scottish rural life, which I really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed the way that this book was set up. I think the only thing, this is a 4-star read for me, I did thoroughly enjoy it. The only thing I think that pulled it back for me slightly, with it being a 4 instead of it being a 5-star, was just there was a lot of build up, and while I appreciate that's obviously so that we get a lot of time with Roderick and we really get to understand him as a person and spend a lot of time with him throughout his life, I feel like that probably could have been condensed a wee bit, and we, you know, maybe would have got the same effect and the same enjoyment and connection to him as a character with maybe 20, 30, 40 odd pages cut out. That's just my input. I am a huge fan of build up, as anybody who watches the channel knows, so that took away for me, which is why it was a 4-star and no a 5. But I would thoroughly recommend this book. I can't believe that I've had this sat on my shelf this entire time and I haven't picked this up, and it's been such a highly rated book for me. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and it is like one of the best reads I've picked up from my shelf destruct TBR so far, so I'm very pleased. And then I got back to my seriously need to finish this challenge, which I was very pleased about, and I read the next book in the Invisible Library series. This is The Mortal World by Genevieve Cogman, and I spoke in my last wrap up about the fact that I was feeling a wee bit slumpy. This book for sure pulled me out of my slump. It was amazing. I would go as far as to say that this has been my favourite instalment in this series so far. This is the 5th book, I think. And it was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed this. So I'm not going to say a huge amount plot wise because it is a part in a series and I didn't want to spoil it too much, but I will just say this book is very politically driven, which we know I love. I love politics in real life. I am a complete politics geek / junkie, and so I really like politics in my fantasy system. And in this one, the librarians are neutral. We know from previous instalments, and we find out very early on in the first book, so this isn't really a spoiler, that the dragons and the fairies in this society are mortal enemies. They do not get on, they do not trust each other one iota. And the library, being a neutral party, decides that they are going to try and get a peace treaty between the fairies and the dragons. And so this book is set in an alternate world Paris, where the dragons are in one hotel, the fair in another hotel, the library have a hotel in the middle where the peace talks are going to happen because the other factions don't even trust each other enough to come into their own hotel, so they have a separate hotel that the library is basically taking charge of so that they can come and they can do all these meetings, and the library will be there to oversee and mediate as the neutral party. And I just loved it. I thought it was amazing. We find out so much about the dragons specifically in this. I feel like up until this point in the book we know a lot about the fairies, the fairy hierarchy, how that works, and so this one focused a lot more on the dragons because they tend to be a wee bit secretive, so we don't know as much about them by this point. This book was just everything I needed. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The politics was great. It was really fun to hang out with some characters that I know and love, and it definitely pulled me out of my slump because I just got to hang out with my pals again, which was great. This is going to be a bit spoilery, so if you want to read these books, you know, skip away now. Kai and I reading got together in this book and I was buzzing. So the end of the last book, Kai is sort of disbanded for the library, and there is no longer that like teacher-student relationship between them. So Irene's like, like we could potentially be together, and they have a little dalliance, which was amazing. I was so buzzing because I shipped them like super hard, and then I was like, oh, like, well, it still can't really go anywhere. But then Genevieve Cogman came through with an absolutely amazing wee plot point that means that they can go in and they can have like a proper relationship, and I am just like so here for it, you have no idea. And it took like every single ounce of strength that I had not to like just pick up the next book as soon as I finished this one. It was amazing, my favourite instalment so far. This was a 5-star read for me. It was absolutely fantastic, and if anybody hasn't already decided to check out the Invisible Library series, because I literally go on about them in so many of my videos at this point, I would highly recommend it. Amazing, really cool original magic system, phenomenal characters, excellent world building, and just like such great plots. Like, please check them out. And then, you know, after that high, we sort of go right down, and I decided, soon as I was like stressing about the fact that I hadn't made progress on some of my challenges, because I like putting restrictions on myself even though I'm a mood reader, and then like stressing about the fact that I'm not living up to it, you know, great for me, I decided to pick up A Facelift Glass by Frances Hardin, and this again was on my shelf destruct TBR. So I already tried to read another book, The Lie Tree by Frances Hardin, and I really didn't like it, and I DNF'd it and I got rid of the book. When I was doing my library glow up videos and I was doing a big unhaul, I was going to unhaul this because I read the other one, or tried to read the other one, and I didn't like it. And then it made its way from the unhaul box back onto my shelf as part of my shelf destruct TBR, because I thought, I've already bought the book, like I might as well give it a chance, and if I'm going to do a shelf destruct project, then it seems like the perfect opportunity. So I picked it up, and I will be honest, I didn't read too much of this book. I maybe only read 60 odd pages, which isn't a great deal considering this is a middle grade and like the writing is absolutely humongous, but it just wasn't for me. I ended up DNFing this. I really didn't enjoy it. This, like, I talk about all the time about how I like books that revolve around food, and this book is set in cheese tunnels. Like, our main character lives with a cheesemaker, and so there's a lot of chat about cheese chat if you will, and like it just wasn't working for me. A lot of the chat was actually making me feel a wee bit queasy, because like the cheese is being made in these like gross minging tunnels, and like there were rats breaking into the cheese, and it was giving me the book a wee bit. I wasn't liking that. So like this wasn't the type of food that I like being in books. And our main character never fell. She is obviously young, like I appreciate that this is a kid's book, but she was just so strikingly naive that I found her more annoying, and I don't think that she would be able to hold my attention for the entire book. And like, I appreciate obviously the writing's big, but this is still a chunky boy of a book. It's like 485 pages. I just knew that if I was finding her this annoying 60 pages in, I wouldn't enjoy the story she had to tell in the rest of the book. So I DNF'd it. It is off my shelf destruct TBR, and I will be unhauling this one. If anybody wants it, give me a wee shout, although like I've still to send out books in my last unhaul that I have sitting in boxes. I just haven't taken them to the post office yet because I am the worst, but it's fine. And then because I tried a shelf destruct book and it didn't work, I thought, well, you might as well just try another one. You know, you'll maybe have better luck. This has just been like such a goal focused wrap up. So I started Girlfriend in a Coma by Douglas Copeland, and unfortunately I also decided that I was going to DNF this one. It wasn't the plot in here really that I wasn't enjoying, like A Facelift Glass. It was the writing style in this that I just found to be very annoying, and I just couldn't get on board. It was the type of one where it is like big, huge, long, flowery, flowing sentences, and that just annoys me a bit. I'm like, can we please just get to the point? Like, I didn't need 1,001 things described, like, to understand how the main character's feeling. Like, I get it, and I don't enjoy that. I end up then finding that I skim read when that's happening, so that I can like skip all the pishy description and get to the actual point, and I didn't read like for any specific purpose other than enjoyment, so I didn't want to skim read a book, so I'll just DNF. So I didn't really like this, and I didn't really even get that far into it. Where did I get? I only got up to page 32, so no, I mean it's not even a big book, but I just couldn't make myself do it. I couldn't make myself do it, and it was doing this thing that I hate as well, where like it makes a point and then like detracts and is like, oh, but you'll need to keep reading to find out more. Ooh. And I hate that. So like the first chapter that you get is for like Jared, who is a ghost. No spoiler, it is literally the first line of the book. I'm Jared, a ghost. So I feel like that's no spoiling it. So we get like the first chapter from his perspective, and then it's like, oh, but to find out where I am, we need to go back and talk to all my pals. Woo! Like, I'm not interested already. Like, make me want to read your book because I care about the characters, or because I care about the plot instantly, like, or because I really enjoy your writing style. Like, don't make me want to read your book with like stupid wee fucking hooks, being like, oh, but you'll need to keep reading to find out if this happens. I hate that. Like, and I just think it is such a sign of poor writing, to be honest. If you can't hook me by character, plot or writing style, then like maybe shouldn't be writing. Like, I just don't think that an author should have to like trick you into reading their book, and that just really fucks me off. So no, I didn't read this. It's no for me. I have DNF'd it, and it will be an unhaul. And even though I've DNF'd 2 books for my self-destruct TBR, like I also got a 4-star read. I have DNF'd 3 of the books that I've read so far for my self-destruct TBR and got a 4-star read. And I actually don't mind that, because if they're on my self-destruct TBR, it's because I am gravitating towards them. And so then if I am making an effort to pick them up and they're not my type of books, then I can pass them along to somebody else who will get enjoyment out of them, and I will not force myself to read them, which is absolutely fine. So even though they were DNFs, like, I'm still pleased about it because I've tried them, they haven't been for me, and I'll pass them on to somebody who will enjoy them. So aye, that's been my reading wrap up this week. By a mixed bag, but I'll take a 4 and a 5-star read with 2 DNFs. That's absolutely fine. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that you're reading at the moment. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!